Well, week two of the Premier League season began earlier than perhaps what most of us are used to, as Manchester United kicked off the action on a Friday against Southampton at Old Trafford. And once again, it was Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the big story of the match, scoring both goals in the 2-0 win for the Red Devils, in which Paul Pogba made his Reds re-debut, if you will, for the Red Devils, excuse me. And Pogba played well. He had his moments out there, so some close calls to finishes, but it was Ibrahimovic who scored in the first half off of a header, off a very nice cross from Wayne Rooney, towering over Jose Font. And in the second half, Ibra, of course, made no mistake from the penalty spot perfectly slotted into the left side to bring in the 2-0 victory. Now, on Saturday, there was a lot of interesting action around the league, including some comeback wins. But the day's action was kicked off by Manchester City dominating Stoke City at the Britannia. It was not a cold, rainy night, but it was still, nonetheless, a tough atmosphere to play in. And, the Light Blues, they got the 4-1 win as both Sergio Aguero and Nolito both bagged braces. Aguero scored a very nice headed goal, as well as no mistake this time. No jokes about Aguero's penalty kicks. He took care of business this time around in the 36th minute. Meanwhile, Bojan for Stoke scored in the 49th minute off of a very nice penalty kick of his own. Meanwhile, Nolito scored a brace off of two tap-ins that really sealed the deal for Manchester City, giving them 6 points out of 6 to play for. And the biggest disappointment of the day might have been for Liverpool, as the Reds lost 2-0 to a newly promoted Burnley side. Yes, it was away, but there's really no excuse for Liverpool to lose 2-0, especially coming off of a 4-3 win over Arsenal. And, Burnley got both their goals in the first half from Sam Vokes and Andre Gray, two pretty nice strikes in truth. And it was Burnley who came out with the 3 points, really crucial for a team like that to get the early confidence and believe that they can stay up in the top flight. Meanwhile, in the Watford against Chelsea game, Etienne Capoue, for the second straight week, scored for Watford, really bringing into fine form. Just a fantastic volley, could not have struck it any better. And unfortunately, however, it was deja vu for Chelsea. And by unfortunate, I mean for Watford, because once again, Diego Costa bagged the winner for Chelsea in controversial circumstances. Probably should have been sent off for the second straight game, but instead he stays on, bags the winner to give Chelsea a 2-1 win after Michy Batshuayi scored his first goal for the Blues. Now, elsewhere, Tottenham, they took care of business with a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace, and it was Victor Wanyama who came on and scored the winner in the 82nd minute. Not the guy you would expect, but certainly Tottenham's most exciting summer signing. I think he's going to do really well. Just a very talented, tough player, and it was a very important 3 points for Spurs coming off that disappointing 1-1 draw against Everton on opening day. So, speaking of Everton, it was the Toffees who came out on top, playing away from home with the Hawthorns, winning 2-1 over West Bromwich. And Gareth McAuley scored a beautiful goal in the 9th minute to give the Baggies an early lead. However, just on the stroke of halftime, Kevin Morales equalized, and then in the 60th minute in the second half, it was the veteran Gareth Barry who emerged from a fracas in the penalty box to give the Toffees the 2-1 lead in what proved to be the game-winning goal. So now Everton has 4 points so far in the season. Meanwhile, Hull City, the Tigers, perhaps the interesting story, or certainly the underdog story so far in the Premier League season. Perhaps people are wondering who the new Leicester City is. I don't see one, but people are going to keep talking about Hull City as long as they keep winning. They got a 2-0 win in Wales against Swansea, and for the second straight game, Abel Hernandez scored, this time in the 90th minute, or in stoppage time, I should say, on following a goal from Sean Maloney in the 79th minute. So the Tigers on the prowl, they're ready to attack. That's got to be a team that'll be very interesting to watch as the season moves forward. And in terms of Leicester City and Arsenal, that's a game that many would have anticipated perhaps being the highest scoring match of the second week of the Premier League season. Instead, the only goalless match in terms of results. Mahrez, Vardy had their chances. I really thought Mahrez was going to score on his. Did not happen. Oxlade-Chamberlain had a nice strike for the Gooners that went wide, but all in all, that's a result that I think both sides would be unhappy with. And on Sunday, a couple of matches were played. It was opened up with Middlesbrough playing on the road against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. And, I mentioned this earlier on my show about how Middlesbrough have some of the most buzz in recent memory for a promoted team, and they're starting to justify that buzz. They won 2-0, perhaps the goal of the week. Certainly one of the best goals of the week came with the opener from Christian Stuani. Just a fantastic strike from outside the box. You got to see it. And, his second goal was a tap-in courtesy of some really nice heads-up play from Alvaro Negredo, who really did a nice job of not being selfish, taking a tough shot, instead, passing it off for Stuani to give Middlesbrough the 2-0 lead. Now, one of the players that I think is one of the most underrated in the Premier League is Patrick van Aanholt. He came on and got the rebound to score to make it a 2-1 game in the 71st minute. However, that one goal was not enough to get a result for Sunderland at home. So that could be another two teams right there that make the relegation battle very interesting this season. And the last game of the weekend came as West Brom hosted AFC Bournemouth at the Olympic Stadium, and the first hammer to bag a goal for West Ham in that stadium was Michail Antonio. Late on in the 85th minute, it was just bedlam, scenes in London for that game-winning goal, and a huge 3 points for West Ham early in the season. So all in all, plenty of goals in the second week of the Premier League season. A lot of storylines, a lot of intrigue. At the top of the table are Manchester City, Manchester United, not surprisingly. Meanwhile, Hull City and Chelsea are the other two teams that have come away with 6 points out of 6 to play for. And the only teams without a point so far are Sunderland, Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth. In between, teams with 4 points include Chelsea, Everton, Borough, Tottenham, and the 3-pointers are Burnley, West Brom, West Ham, and Swansea. In terms of teams that came away with only a draw to show for 2 matches, that would be Arsenal, Watford, Leicester, Southampton, and Stoke. So a lot to look forward to. Week 3 should be a lot of fun before the international break, so stay tuned for my take on the Premier League season.